Hello, my name is Tim Erickson. I am St. Paul Tim, that says T-P-A-U-L Tim on the internet. My company Triplo has a website called Simplo, and I'm here on behalf of Simplo today to talk to you about roles and permissions in Backdrop CMS. Roles and permissions are a basic building block of something you need to understand in building your Backdrop site, especially if you're going to have more than one person logging in. Certainly if you have any kind of a membership site. We'll try to keep things really basic in this video. This is a beginner video. We're going to look at two different menus today. The user account, so roles and permissions are managed here under configuration user accounts. There are two different user accounts, or user account menu items in the Backdrop admin menu. One of them is all about the roles and permissions and configuration stuff, and one is where you manage users. So Backdrop comes with one user, an admin user, and we're going to go ahead and create another user for this account. And my computer knows what I'm thinking. It's already filled in the username, test editor. This is something I frequently use on my websites. Okay, I've created the account, given it a password. I'm going to give this user the role of editor. I'm going to go ahead and save that. So now when I go back to the user account list, we're going to see we have two different roles. We have an admin, or two different users, excuse me, an admin and a test user. The admin has the administrator role and the test user has the editor role. Now what we're going to do is go over here under this user account menu. We got to do something about that. And under this user account menu, the two things we're really going to focus on today, I'll just quickly say these other things like account emails, account settings, these are various configuration options for managing your users, and I think we'll handle that in a different video. So for today's video, we're going to focus on these last two, permissions and roles. We're going to look at roles first, and we're going to see that what Backdrop came with out of the box was really 4 roles, although one of them is kind of the default role of anybody visiting a site that's not logged in. So this is really the absence of a role. If you don't have any other role, you're automatically anonymous. The other 3 roles are authenticated, which that just means that you are logged in. Backdrop knows who you are, and then we can assign special permissions to anybody that's logged into the site. We also have an editor role, which we've just created a user with that role, and we have the administrator role. The administrator role pretty much has permission out of the box to do everything. That can be changed. The editor has select permissions to do things, to manage content, but to not have to deal with all the other stuff. And sort of having the availability of an editor role is sometimes not just an issue of trust, but just a matter of making your editors' lives a little bit easier by giving them a lot fewer choices and things to look at when they log into your site. So that editor role can be really helpful to just simplify the editor experience when they're generating content and make their life easier. There's 2 other options here under roles. One is who do you want to get permission when you enable new modules? So when you enable a new module on your site that has some custom permissions, who should get permission to do those things automatically? By default, that's the administrator, but you can change it. And you also have the ability to change what you want to call your anonymous users on your site. These are not things that I normally change, so we're just going to leave them as they are. We're going to go ahead. Well, we didn't really do anything, but we went ahead and hit the save button anyways. Now we're going to go back here under user account and go to the permissions field, or the permissions page. The permissions page has a lot of stuff on it. Basically, our 4 roles that we've already defined, along with a whole bunch of different permissions that you can then give to each of those roles. So there's a lot of different permissions. You can be very fine-grained about who can do what in Backdrop. And you'll see that out of the box, the editor, for example, can access the admin toolbar where a regular authenticated user can't. Let's scroll down here. So any anonymous user can view comments as well as any authenticated user, but only an authenticated user can post comments or skip comment approval by default. You could actually give these permissions to unauthenticated users, anonymous, but that could be dangerous in terms of spammers and other people abusing your site. As we scroll down here, we'll see mostly things that are admin only. As we get down into the content area, we're starting to see that we've given, there's some permissions that authenticated users or editors have. Here, as we get into actually creating content, we've given the editor a lot of permissions to create various types of content, and that's most important for them. So let's just, there's not much more. That's the basics of how that works. What I would like to do, though, for you is quickly jump over to another website that we have. Well, it's the same website, just in a different browser tab. And I'm going to log in as that test editor that we just created a few minutes ago, just to show you the value of doing this. So now I'm logged in as a test user. I have access to the dashboard, but there's less things on the dashboard, which is noticeable right away. This is much simpler. I don't have links to do things that I can't do as an editor. I do have some handy links to add new content. If we go up to the admin menu, you can see this is much simpler. Very few things. The few things that I might want to do, things like manage taxonomy terms, add content, and that's almost it. And as you add new content types, they'll show up here in the menu, but it's a much simpler menu for somebody that doesn't need all that other stuff, and it's going to make their life a lot easier. Anyways, there was one more thing I was going to do with you today, and we'll go ahead and do that now, which is add a role and just show you how that does work. Under configuration, we can come down to roles, and we can add a role. And in this case, I'm going to add a role called writer. Maybe I want our writers to be able to create content, but not to publish it. This would be one really good use case. So I can hit writer, and there we go. We've added that role. I'm going to go back to the permissions page and show you something. By default, our new roles show up on the far right here. I find it to be a best practice to order my roles in order of least permission to most permission. It makes the sort of navigating this, especially as you get more and more roles. And what we can do is just go back to the roles page, and we have the drag and drop ability to just grab the writer and drag them up here. We want them to have more access than a regular user, but less access than an editor. We're going to hit save. We're going to go back to the permissions. One, to just see our change. There we go. Now the writer's in the middle there. But two, to go down quickly to like the main content area here. So this is an example of how you would use this. The editor pretty much has the ability to create new content of each type, edit their own content, edit any content, delete their own content, or delete any content. What you might give the editor or a writer the ability to do is maybe delete their own content, maybe not, maybe just create their own content. So we could say that they can create new posts and they can create new pages, but they can't edit or delete them. Maybe they probably ought to be able to edit their own, but not other people's. There we go. Anyways, that's it for our look at roles and permissions for today. Please check out our YouTube channel at Team Triplo on YouTube for more backdrop video tutorials.